Europeanization refers to a number of related phenomena and patterns of change. The process in which a notionally non-European subject adopts a number of European features, outside of the social sciences. It commonly refers to the growth of a European continental identity or polity over and above national identities and polities on the continent. Europeanization may also refer to the process through which European Union political and economic dynamics become part of the organizational logic of national politics and policy making. Definitions. Europeanization in political science has been referred to very generally as becoming more European-like. More specifically than this, it has been defined in a number of ways. One of the earliest conceptualizations of the term is by Ladrek, who defines Europeanization simply as an incremental process of reorienting the direction and shape of politics to the extent that political and economic dynamics become part of the organizational logic of national politics and policy making. This emphasizes what is known as the top-down approach to Europeanization, with change emanating from the impact of the Union onto the national policy. The state is viewed as reactive towards changes in the Union. Another definition that needs to be taken into account is Radaeli, who describes Europeanization as a process involving a construction, b. diffusion, and c. institutionalization of formal and informal rules, procedures, policy paradigms, styles, ways of doing things, and shared beliefs and norms which are first defined and consolidated in the EU policy process and then incorporated in the logic of domestic discourse, political structures and public choices. More recently, Moutsis has revised Radaeli's definition, and he has argued that Europeanization should be defined as a process of incorporation in the logic of domestic discourse, political structures and public policies of formal and informal rules, procedures, policy paradigms, styles, ways of doing things, and shared beliefs and norms that are first defined in the EU policy processes. From a bottom-up approach, Europeanization occurs when states begin to affect the policy of the European Union in a given area. A more nuanced analysis posits that the institutional interaction of policy actors at the various levels of European governance leads to the redefinition of national, regional and other identities within a European context, where the multiple levels of governance in Europe are not seen as necessarily in opposition to one another. An elected representative can, for example, see his loyalties and responsibilities as lying with Barcelona, Catalonia, Spain and Europe, or with Amsterdam, Netherlands and Europe, for unitary states. Some scholars, including Samuel Huntington, argue that citizens of European states increasingly identify themselves as such, rather than Portuguese, British, French, German, Italian, etc. An obvious area of changes in the institutions of Europe, the enlargement of the European Union and the gradual acquisition of authority over the national member governments in numerous areas, is creating a centralized European polity. The economic and monetary union of the European Union would be an example of this. In this case, the nations using the euro have passed control of their monetary policy to the European Central Bank. Another perspective of Europeanization is the horizontal approach. This approach takes into account the transfer of politics, policies and policy making between member states of the European Union. The transfer is based on a form of soft law, therefore it is not enforceable, but is based on best practice and mutual recognition. Whether Europeanization is a continuing process that will eventually lead to a full European government, or whether centralization will be unable to overcome persisting national identities or increasing interest in localism, is a matter of some debate.